greetings from New Zealand.
I can't believe we were talking to her yesterday. It blows my mind that you're obviously like 10 hours ahead. Like what?
Yeah, it's 9 p.m.
9
here,
p.m.
and middle of winter. I think you're probably having a much nicer day ahead of you.
Yeah, I mean, I got a bit of. You're going to say it so much. I got a bit of sunburn yesterday. So typical.
Yeah, there's no chance of that here.
No, but yeah, kind of. But yeah, thanks for joining.
Pleasure.
That's very good. I've got a whole sheet load of questions. I don't know if anyone else will pop them in at the bottom, of course. But the first question, more general question: how did you get into acting?
By accident, really. I got into it first through singing, and really just through I was a very shy child, and I accidentally turned up at a singing performance class, like a special class in school. And when I realized what it was, I tried to sneak out the back door, and they wouldn't let me go unless I sung first. And so I sung, and then it all started from there. They got me in there and started encouraging me, and then I did lots of plays and shows through high school, and then I went straight from high school into acting training, and then I pretty much started working right away, luckily. Yes, that's how I got started anyway. A very basic start.
Yeah, amazing. I think I saw you share this the other day, I think, on the other live, but I bet it's been strange kind of having this almost time off, I suppose, for you, because you've kind of been touring kind of endlessly for how many years?
Yeah, I've been on the road constantly since about 2011 or 12. I think 2012 was the last time I actually lived somewhere properly.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've basically been living out of a suitcase, and it was never been intentional that that's how it was going to go. It's just when the opportunities come up as an actor, you just have to go for them. And I was in a position to, I don't have children or I'm not married, so I was in a position where I could do that. It's much more difficult as an actor if you have commitments. So the show, I was doing Rocky Horror, as you know, for many years, and that show kept on popping up. So it would do a tour of the UK, and then it would do a tour of Australia, and then by the time the Australian tour finished, we went back to the UK, and then it would go back to Australia, and then just kept on going around, and it all seemed to there was the occasional 6 months where the show wasn't going somewhere, but it has certainly been a busy time on that one show for me, and I never would have imagined that when I first started it. And I've most recently been doing it in South Africa, and that finished in March, and I was always coming back to New Zealand for a few weeks to visit my parents, because my parents live here in New Zealand, and I just happened to get here, and then everything started locking down on me, and so I thought I was going to be here for about 4 weeks, but it looks like I'm going to be here for a good year.
So I guess is home more over there, or is it kind of more over here generally?
Everything I own is in London.
Yeah.
But when people go, "Where are you from?" I say New Zealand.
Yeah.
So it is just a thought in my brain, because I don't actually have a specific home. I don't have a specific home in London, and I'm at my parents now, but actually they moved in here since I last came to New Zealand, so I'd never been to this place before either. So, so it's just an idea of home, but that's good enough for me.
Yeah, and obviously going to Rock Era, I mean, I know from obviously when you did that written interview for me, you'd obviously been in it previous to being Riff Raff, kind of as Frank and Brad. Kind of, how was that kind of then kind of transitioning into Riff Raff? Kind of.
Well, I just never imagined myself as Riff Raff at all. There's such irony in that.
Yeah.
It never even occurred to me. When I went along to the audition, I'd only heard about it on the day, and when I wasn't prepared for it. I just saw it on Facebook. I saw somebody, one of my friends was going along to this Rocky Horror audition. I was like, because I've been in it before, I was like, how come I didn't know about that?
Yeah.
So, but I turned up and I planned on saying I can sing anything from the show. I'm a bit unprepared. I can sing anything from the show. And I literally rehearsed in the car saying anything apart from Riff Raff.
Yeah.
So that's how blind I was to me being able to do that role. But luckily, Christopher Luscombe, who has been directing the Rocky Horror I've been a part of, then he saw something different or heard something different, I expect.
Yeah.
And because my voice does lend itself, my singing voice is slightly unusual, and it does lend itself to that kind of riff-raff sound. So it just came to be. But thank goodness he had the foresight to see something that I didn't see in myself. And that's the challenge as an actor. Quite often I'll think of a role that I want to do, and I go, oh, I think I'd be great at that. But when you go along, sometimes you don't get a show in because the director can't really see that vision that you have. But it worked the other way around this time. So, I'm very grateful of it. I do love Rocky Horror. So,
and I guess kind of when you've been in a show like that, where you've been a different role, does that kind of then, I guess maybe not because you said you didn't kind of see that you playing it, does that kind of shape how you would play it if you've kind of been acting against that character? Does that change how then you would play it yourself?
It's interesting because I remember one of the times I played, the first time I played, the second time I played Frankenfurter in New Zealand, there was a guy who was playing Riff Raff there, and he was Riff Raff. I mean, he looked so much like Riff Raff in his everyday life. He had a receding hair, and he was long blonde hair, and he was a rock singer. I was like, oh my God, I've never seen anyone who was more Riff Raff ever. So I think he was probably one of the reasons why I was like, oh, I can't do that, because he was so perfect. And then when I played Brad Majors, the guy who was playing Riff Raff in that was actually from Transylvania. So he's probably the only real Transylvanian that's ever been in Rocky Horror, as far as I know. So so he was great as well. So I don't know if they really molded anything I did. I certainly was influenced by Richard O'Brien, because I think you have to, even if it's a slight homage, you have to play to people who have done those roles in iconic ways, because they're so embedded in people's brains how those roles should be done, especially even more so for Frankenfurter. Then if you don't give them something that lends to it a little bit, then it's a bit of a shock to the system, I think, sometimes. You go, oh, why didn't they do it like that? Or why didn't they do that? Or you've just got to be in a production that's so different that people just don't even think about it. There are ways around it, but I'd like to think that I brought a little bit of Richard O'Brien to it, and hopefully a lot of myself.
I'd say you'd have. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen you now, but it must be 30 or 40 plus, probably.
Amazing.
But kind of, I guess it would have, but I guess the look is not really changed in that time as you've been doing it, Riff Raff, but does it kind of get shorter to put it on? I'm guessing it does. Can you get more used to it, I suppose?
It does. I do always change the makeup a little bit, but I don't really do it to an extent that the audience would notice the difference. I do it to an extent that when I look back on the photos, I can tell, oh, that was that production, or that was when I was touring Australia, or so I know exactly when it is. So I'm always kind of molding it. Like sometimes he's a bit older, and then I started I really got into him looking a bit older and a bit disheveled, and then it went too far. So then more recently, I brought it back a bit, and so it's a morphing thing, and I don't even notice the changes. And then, but over time, it just gradually happens, and before you know it, it is quite different. But also, I think that's a good thing. As if you're doing a character for such a long time, done 1,800 performances of Rocky Horror. If you're doing something for such a long time, you have to constantly evolve, even if it's just very subtly. You have to constantly evolve, and you will evolve as you as an actor gets older, and you as and the character gets older, and you have different people around you delivering lines in different ways, and it just means it also helps you keep it fresh. You can't go out there and give the exact same performance that you gave 1,000 shows ago. It just doesn't. It doesn't work like that, and I think it's probably not very healthy.
No, of course.
Yeah.
And I guess it doesn't happen very often that you get to be in the show with the person who's written it and kind of then created the role. So I guess was that a challenge, and kind of did he ever give you advice, Richard O'Brien, as to what to do or anything?
I think Richard would always give advice to everybody. He'd always give the cast a general idea of how they should play it, and I think it was, I can't remember the classic bit of advice he gives is act if no one's watching it, and sing it as if you're a rock star in your bedroom. It's that kind of thing. But I think it's a bit of a privilege, isn't it? I don't understand. To have the writer and the creator of your role and the show in the show with you. So you get to work with them on the same level. It's quite an unusual situation, and it's certainly something that I'll treasure. I think it's one of those things when I'm really old, I go, oh, can you believe I did that? So I certainly, it does add a bit of pressure as well. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, of course. I guess kind of also, obviously, you did the kind of cinema version as well, didn't you? I guess that was an extra challenge on top of the show itself, I suppose.
Yes, because not only are you doing that with Richard O'Brien in the cast, but you're also doing it in the West End, which always adds a little bit of extra of your own pressure, and also it's being filmed live to cinemas. You have no concept of how many people are watching or who's going to see it, and but funnily enough, I don't remember being any more nervous than I normally am. I'm always a little bit nervous on stage, always. I haven't quite figured out how to not be yet, but maybe it's a good thing.
Yeah, I guess it kind of keeps you on your toes, isn't it? I suppose if you get a bit blasé with it, you kind of...
I can definitely say I've never been blasé about it. Yeah.
No, I can imagine. But I guess kind of, again, these are all rock era questions, isn't it? But I guess kind of you've performed it, like you say, around the world. And obviously, I mean, I can only go from experience over here, but obviously the audience... It's quite iconic for rock era, for the shout outs and all that. I mean, I know you've said it didn't happen so much abroad. Does that kind of change the show?
I think it does. For you? I think it must change well, yes, it does change it for me, but actually it doesn't seem to change it for the other cast members who aren't aware of what it's like at its most full on in the UK. Because UK audiences are wild with Rocky Horror. Like, I've never known anything like it. So you go overseas and those audiences are wild as well. Like all the actors are going, all the other actors around me are going, can you believe that audience? That's insane. They're just crazy. But they just don't do the call outs. People do get dressed up and they do the occasional call out. And if you have a show which might have like a handful of call outs during the whole show, they'll go, that was wild. But, in the UK, if you got 5 call-outs during a show, that would be dead.
I've seen both of it.
But you know, the show completely works
Yeah, with
without
all of
call
that.
outs as well, which is the great thing. And we have to remember that when the show started and when the show became huge and famous, there weren't any
Yeah,
call outs.
yeah, of course.
You know, that happened further along, further down the track. So yeah, it has been. Uh, it's a good thing to remind myself of sometimes if there's a quiet audience. It does work without any
Yeah,
call out.
yeah,
And sometimes even people like Richard O'Brien or Christopher Luscombe, who's the director, I think sometimes they really like it when there are no call outs because, you know, the piece becomes pure again.
yeah. Because I remember saying it. Obviously, when he was in it with you in London, kind of, you could tell sometimes from his reaction that he wasn't enjoying some of the shout outs kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think sometimes he finds, because, you know, it's not the show he wrote. He didn't
Yeah,
write
yeah,
it. But the call outs are really fun.
yeah, yeah. Does it kind of? I guess the more random ones more so. But how do you not? I mean, as an audience member, I've seen it 60 times, and some of the same ones still make me laugh now. But how do you kind of keep
Oh,
that in?
I am laughing on the inside
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah, but it's more of a, you kind of just treat them like they're another character in the show, and if a character in the show says a funny line, you don't necessarily laugh at that when it happens. You're in a different mode.
yeah, yeah,
So I do go off stage and go, oh my god, can you believe how funny that call out was? Wasn't
yeah,
it brilliant?
yeah,
Uh, and I do appreciate a good call out. Like somebody comes up with something new,
yeah,
something I've never heard before, and then I really, really appreciate it. Yeah,
yeah. Kind of keeps
yeah.
you a
It
bit
does happen
fresher.
occasionally. It does happen occasionally that catches us off guard, and we'll laugh at it. But you know, we're not supposed
Yeah.
to.
No, yeah. I guess kind of one of the obviously following you on social media, kind of do a lot of kind of posts about kind of the Wig Wednesdays and your kind of theatre porn that you kind of add like the calendar and all that. Is that kind of one of the joys, I guess, of theatre? And I guess that's kind of one of the questions that someone put about what your favourite places to perform, kind of.
Yeah, certainly with I'm a real theatre nerd. I love theatres, and
Yeah,
I did a couple of tours in the UK where I loved the theatres, but I didn't really take much notice of them. And then when
yeah,
I decided last year, I decided to have a photo shoot of every theatre auditorium I went to, which was there's about 40 of them or something like that. And it really gave me a new appreciation of these places. I
yeah,
really studied them, and when I was doing I was finding out about their history more and who performed in them, and who built them, and why, and their life
yeah, yeah,
during their existence. And I also made sure that I walked all over the theater from top to bottom, backstage, under the stage,
yeah,
through the door that you're not meant to go through. Um, and I realized, I was in a very privileged position to be able to walk around these places with no one else there.
yeah, yeah,
It's quite an amazing thing, and you really get to sort of have a really good look at everything, and I really adored it. But also part of the thing that keeps me sane when I'm doing a show for so long is having a few different projects on the
yeah,
go. So it keeps me occupied and keeps my mind stimulated when I'm not on stage. And because touring can be really challenging, it can be very difficult,
yeah. You say it
and
must be like kind of quite, especially kind of around the UK, because you can get some kind of far off reaches. Can't you? I guess it kind of if you're stuck in one place for the whole week, and you can almost need something to do, don't you? Kind of.
yeah. I mean, that is, part of the hard thing is touring and being in a different place every week, and part of the great thing is
Yeah.
being in a different place
Same.
every weekend, and especially if you haven't been there before, discovering
Yeah.
those places. There are some wonderful places in the UK, and
Yeah.
there's always, the great thing with the UK is so much history there, so you don't have to dig too deep to find something interesting about any of the places that the shows go.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things, kind of personally, I've enjoyed is obviously on your YouTube channel. You've got a couple of videos up there, kind of the Hedwig one. Is that kind of
Yes.
is that firstly is that a show? I'm guessing would like to be in?
Oh, it's certainly one of my dream roles.
Yeah,
I I got cast in it a couple of years ago in New
yeah,
Zealand, but it was only a really short stint, and then I ended up being offered a long stint on Rocky Horror, and it didn't
yeah,
make any sense for me to turn down a long stint on Rocky Horror, show I love, for
yeah,
my dream show. Do it for such a short time. It just I've also got to pay my bills,
yeah. Of
so
course, yeah,
so that wasn't meant to be. And as a result, I think that's why I recorded the song
yeah,
on the YouTube channel, was just so I could get it out of my system.
yeah,
And the intention was to keep on doing the songs of roles that I might never get to play,
yeah,
and I might still do that. It's I always seem to be in places where I never have everything with me, because
yeah,
like I only came to New Zealand with a suitcase. So, I can't buy equipment wherever I go, and you do need a bit of equipment to get that stuff done.
yeah. Of course.
But, when I get back to the UK, and maybe I'll be in the one place, then I'll probably do a lot more music videos. I have recorded a couple of things recently, but I haven't quite got as far as making any videos for them.
Amazing. Well, there's an audience. I'm just going from what I know. There's an audience for it. So.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Everybody in the who's been following me on Rocky Horror is always so supportive.
Yeah.
Really, because if I do stuff like that, I don't make any money out of them.
No,
I just do them for you guys, really.
No. Yeah, they're brilliant. So more. We'll want more. So no pressure, but.
Somebody asked before what was my favorite
Yeah,
place to perform Rocky Horror, and I don't really have a favorite place,
Yeah.
because any one night can be brilliant.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like a kismet thing, isn't it? Where everything just is right. The cast are having a great time, the audience are having a great time. But usually it is on a Friday or a Saturday night with Rocky Horror, and it does tend to be the further north you go in the country, the wilder the audiences get. I don't know why that is,
Yeah.
but certainly there's been some very wild audiences down south as well. But that's just the general gist. So Glasgow,
Yeah.
wild.
I guess it doesn't, because obviously you're playing the character. But does that sort of change how you play it, say on like a Monday or Tuesday to a kind of rowdy Saturday or Friday or Saturday?
It doesn't really change how you perform it, but certainly, there's a certain energy that goes between an audience and the actors on stage. And the more an audience gives, the more the actors can give as well. So the better the audience, the better the actors. So I don't really, it's a bit of magic involved there. I don't really fully understand why that is.
Yeah.
But certainly that is the way it goes. Yeah. How long does it take you to learn lines for roles? Do you know what? I'm not the quickest learn. I do a lot of repetition, and I usually start at the beginning of a script, and then I play it like a game. I go through, and then I get a bit wrong, and I go back to the very beginning, try and get past that point in the game.
Yeah.
And that's how I do it. But some actors, and mainly these are TV or soap actors, I've got a lot of friends who do that kind of work, and because they have new scripts all the time, your brain gets used to learning things quickly. And so I know a lot of friends who are doing that kind of acting that can look at a script for a few minutes, and then they know it. And I'm like, how do you do that? But if I was doing that kind of work as well, then after a little while I'd be able to learn lines like that, I hope. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kind of what would be your best?
One of my main worries on stage is always forgetting my lines. I'm like, please don't let me forget my lines.
I guess, suppose in a way that Rocky Horror would probably the one you'd get away with it, because the audience probably know it, don't they?
I mean, it is, but it would be a bit embarrassing.
Yeah,
it would be embarrassing to be like, oh my gosh, you don't know the lines.
Yeah, I can help. Yeah.
But you know, the brain's a funny thing. You can know something really well and still dry and forget your lines. It doesn't seem to make any difference how long you've been doing it.
Do you kind of, I guess when you're, maybe not because you've done it so long, do you have to kind of like keep reading the lines when you're kind of on tour, kind of, or is it more in there?
I don't necessarily read the lines. I don't have a script on hand or anything like that. But certainly I do get in the privileged position of when I'm doing a new version of the show, like with a new cast, then I have to go through the whole rehearsal period again. So, you know, sometimes something will come up and we'll go, Kristian, you're saying that line wrong. And I'm like, am I?
Yeah.
It's like, how long have I been doing that wrong? So, you know, but things do change. They do change a little bit. But, you know, but there's always little changes in every show. And I actually really enjoy those rehearsal periods. I really love the ability to sort of do it without any pressure. No pressure of an audience. No pressure of people watching it. And, you know, it's, I really love them. Love rehearsals.
Amazing. Well, I think we're going to have to call it a day because I'm just seeing the time.
Fabulous.
Thank you for joining me. Obviously doing it from New Zealand as well.
Yep. My absolute pleasure. I know you've got a big day ahead of you, so you know I'm sure there'll be some very interesting chats along the way. If it wasn't in the middle of the night, I'd probably pop in and have a look.
It's all good. I'll be saving them, but don't feel any pressure to watch them. But no, thank you so much for joining.
Pleasure.
And hopefully it's not too long. So obviously we'll see you on stage again over.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
I will do. Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye.